Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Saya Istiqomah Agusta, salah satu dosen di program studi S1 Pendidikan Dokter Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Indonesia. Pada kesempatan kali ini, saya akan memaparkan ikhtisar silabus salah satu mata kuliah yang saya ampu, yaitu modul muskuloskeletal. Pemaparan ini akan saya bagi menjadi 3 bagian, yaitu yang pertama delivery, yang kedua assessment atau evaluation, dan yang ketiga adalah interaction, di mana saya akan menampilkan cuplikan video rekaman proses kuliah dari modul muskuloskeletal dan juga interaksi antara mahasiswa dengan staf pengajar modul muskuloskeletal. Modul muskuloskeletal adalah modul yang diajarkan untuk mahasiswa S1 Pendidikan Dokter tahun kedua yang akan dijalankan selama 6 minggu dan memiliki bobot 5 SKS. Bahasa yang digunakan pada modul ini adalah bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia. Modul muskuloskeletal, sebagaimana modul-modul lain di program studi S1 Pendidikan Dokter Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Indonesia, akan dijalankan secara tim teaching, yang mana modul ini akan diampu oleh lebih dari satu staf pengajar dari berbagai departemen, baik ilmu kedokteran dasar maupun ilmu kedokteran klinik. Departemen ilmu kedokteran dasar yang terlibat di dalam modul muskuloskeletal adalah Departemen Anatomi, Biokimia, Fisiologi, Farmasi, Farmakologi, dan Histologi. Sedangkan Departemen Ilmu Kedokteran Klinik yang terlibat adalah Departemen Parasitologi, Ortopedi, Kedokteran Fisik dan Rehabilitasi, Gizi, Radiologi, Penyakit Dalam, dan Ilmu Kesehatan Anak. Capaian pembelajaran mata kuliah atau CPMK dari modul muskuloskeletal adalah setelah menyelesaikan modul ini, bila dihadapkan pada data sekunder tentang masalah klinik, laboratorium, dan epidemiologi penyakit muskuloskeletal, mahasiswa diharapkan mampu menganalisis dasar diagnosis dan penyebab penyakit muskuloskeletal, serta rencana tata laksana yang rasional, baik secara farmakologi maupun non-farmakologi, juga tindakan pencegahan sesuai standar nasional yang berlaku. Sebagaimana modul-modul lain di program studi S1 Pendidikan Dokter FKUI yang bersifat multidisiplin, maka bahan kajian di dalam modul muskuloskeletal ini juga cukup luas. Dimulai dari ilmu-ilmu kedokteran dasar seperti anatomi, histologi, biokimia, fisiologi, kemudian juga akan membahas tentang patologi dan patofisiologi, tentang bagaimana terjadinya penyakit. Selanjutnya juga akan membahas tentang bagaimana penata laksanaan dan manajemen serta pengobatan untuk penyakit-penyakit di sistem muskuloskeletal. Sesuai dengan kepakaran saya di ilmu biokimia dan biologi molekuler, maka tanggung jawab saya adalah untuk menjelaskan bahan kajian nomor 2, yaitu tentang aspek-aspek fisiologi dan biokimiawi sistem muskuloskeletal. Metode pembelajaran di modul muskuloskeletal ini terdiri dari satu perkuliahan. Perkuliahan ini akan dilakukan secara klasikal, baik daring maupun luring, sebanyak 19 topik dalam waktu 34 jam. Selanjutnya juga ada aktivitas diskusi yang dilakukan dengan 2 metode, yaitu yang pertama metode problem based learning atau PBL yang dilakukan secara luring, dan yang kedua adalah metode team based learning atau TBL yang dilakukan secara daring sinkronus menggunakan Zoom. Untuk diskusi kelompok dengan metode PBL akan membahas 3 topik diskusi, yang mana setiap topik diskusi terdiri dari 2 kali diskusi kelompok dengan total waktu 5 jam dan 1 kali sesi klarifikasi atau pleno dalam waktu 4 jam. Sehingga untuk setiap topik diskusi PBL akan dilakukan selama 9 jam dan total 3 topik diskusi PBL akan dilakukan selama 27 jam. Sementara untuk diskusi dengan metode TBL hanya dilaksanakan 1 kali dengan 1 topik, yaitu selama 4 jam. Selanjutnya akan ada aktivitas praktikum dengan total 9 jam praktikum yang terdiri dari 4 jam praktikum dengan topik radiologi anatomi, 3 jam praktikum dengan topik fisiologi, 1 jam praktikum dengan topik histologi, dan 1 jam praktikum dengan topik patologi anatomi. Selanjutnya ini adalah daftar kuliah beserta staf-staf pengajar yang mengampu untuk kuliah-kuliah tersebut. Saya bertugas untuk menyampaikan kuliah L9 dengan topik calcium and bone metabolism selama 2 jam. Selanjutnya ini adalah daftar fasilitator yang akan membimbing mahasiswa dalam proses diskusi kelompok dengan metode PBL maupun TBL. Saya bertugas untuk membimbing mahasiswa dari kelas khusus internasional kelompok B. Selanjutnya ini adalah topik-topik pemicu diskusi kelompok dengan metode problem based learning. Pemicu pertama tentang pasangan putri Indonesia peraih emas di SEA Games 2021 Vietnam. Selanjutnya adalah pemicu kedua dengan topik Tuan N mengalami nyeri punggung bawah akut. Selanjutnya adalah topik ketiga dengan topik trauma yang bukan sekadar patah tulang. Berikut adalah nama-nama staf pengajar yang menjadi narasumber untuk sesi klarifikasi atau pleno dari diskusi kelompok dengan metode problem based learning untuk kelas khusus internasional. Saya bertugas untuk menjadi narasumber topik biokimia pada sesi pleno atau klarifikasi untuk diskusi kelompok topik 1. Selanjutnya saya akan membahas tentang metode assessment atau evaluasi untuk modul muskuloskeletal. Evaluasi pembelajaran di modul muskuloskeletal didasarkan pada dua hal, yaitu yang pertama penugasan. Penugasan terdiri dari evaluasi atau penilaian proses diskusi kelompok yang didasarkan pada aspek komunikasi, keaktifan, argumentasi, dan dominasi. Kemudian yang selanjutnya, penilaian berdasarkan pembuatan lembar tugas mandiri secara individu yang akan dikumpulkan setelah diskusi kelompok pertama untuk setiap topik, dan juga penilaian mind map yang akan dikumpulkan setelah sesi pleno untuk setiap topik. Kemudian penilaian akan dilakukan berdasarkan ujian. Ada beberapa ujian yang akan dilakukan di modul muskuloskeletal. Yang pertama adalah ujian formatif yang akan dilakukan 2 kali, yaitu formatif 1 di pertengahan modul dan formatif 2 di akhir modul. Namun untuk ujian formatif ini tidak akan dinilai karena sifatnya hanya untuk latihan. Ujian formatif akan dilakukan melalui Learning Management System Universitas Indonesia, yaitu MAS 2, yang dapat diakses oleh mahasiswa secara mandiri, secara daring dari gadget masing-masing. Sedangkan untuk ujian sumatif, ini akan dilakukan secara bersama-sama di laboratorium komputer di kampus Universitas Indonesia dengan menggunakan komputer milik Universitas Indonesia, bukan komputer masing-masing. Soal ujian juga akan dimasukkan ke dalam Learning Management System, yaitu MAS 2, dan mahasiswa akan mengerjakannya di website Learning Management System. Untuk ujian sumatif juga akan dilakukan 2 kali seperti ujian formatif, yaitu di pertengahan modul dan juga di akhir modul. Ujian sumatif biasanya akan dilakukan setelah ujian formatif. Selanjutnya adalah ujian praktikum integrasi yang dilakukan dengan metode yang sama dengan ujian sumatif, yaitu di laboratorium komputer milik Universitas Indonesia, di mana mahasiswa akan menggunakan komputer milik laboratorium komputer UI dan akan membuka soal di dalam Learning Management System. Selanjutnya adalah ujian praktikum anatomi radiologi yang akan dilakukan secara luring. Selanjutnya, saya akan menampilkan aspek interaction di dalam modul muskuloskeletal dengan menampilkan cuplikan video kuliah topik calcium and bone metabolism yang saya bawakan. Okay. Okay, so how many students for KKI?
55, Doc.
55, but I only see 42, yeah? Okay lah, it's fine. At least more than 90% have been in the breakout room, yeah? Okay. Yeah. So this is the outline for our lecture today. Yeah. So first we will talk about the calcium in bone, cartilage, and teeth, yeah, as the structural and supportive functions. We will talk also about the calcium role in muscle, yeah, and also the calcium in blood and extracellular space. And the last one, we will talk about the calcium balance and hormonal regulation. We'll talk about calcium in bone and teeth. Yeah. So bone, even though it's hard, and yeah, the hardness of the bone, yeah, is because it has the calcium, yeah. But of course, bone is not just consists of the calcium, yeah. Even though the biggest, yeah, component, yeah, of the bone is calcium, yeah. It accounts for almost 40% of bone weight, yeah. Now, as we've already talked, yeah, about the form of calcium in the first and second, in the second slides, yeah, that the calcium exists
as a calcium salt, yeah. And the type of the calcium salt is calcium phosphate, yeah. This is the molecular structure, yeah, the calcium salt. This calcium salt, it interacts with water to form hydroxyapatite, yeah. The formula, yeah, the chemical formula of the hydroxyapatite. So it's calcium salt, yeah, interact with water. So it has also the ONH, yeah, oxygen and hydrogen from the water, yeah. This hydroxyapatite, it has the hexagonal structure, yeah. This hexagonal structure strengthen the strengthen the molecule, yeah, so that it becomes very hard. It's become very hard, and this is crystal, yeah, since it is interaction with water, so its form, yeah, is the crystal. This crystal is very hard, then it has, yeah, special ability, yeah. So it is the structure that responsible for special ability of the bone that can resist a pressure in parallel direction, yeah, with a long axis. So when the bones and the tooth, yeah, gets the pressure, yeah, parallel pressure with their long axis, they can resist because of this hexagonal structure of hydroxyapatite. Yeah. So you have to remember, yeah, inside the hydroxyapatite there are calcium, of course, yeah, 10 atoms of calcium. Phosphate, yeah, consists of phosphor and oxygen, yeah, and hydroxyl, yeah, OH is the hydroxyl group, yeah, because it is interaction between calcium salt, calcium phosphate with oxygen. Sorry, with water, yeah. Okay. Now, bone and skeleton, yeah, where most of the calcium are deposited, yeah. Actually, the function is not just for it's not just for resistancy, right? Yeah. So it has also another important functions, yeah, such as to protect soft and important internal organs. Yeah, if you could mention it, yeah, the internal organs such as brain, viscera, yeah, either in a thorax, yeah, like a lung, and then viscera in the abdomen, yeah, abdominal viscera such as gut, liver, yeah, intestine. Also, the other function is as a passive body movement or locomotion, yeah. And another function is also for hematopoietic organ, yeah. So as we know that in the bone marrow, yeah, there are synthesis of blood cells, yeah, mainly the red blood cells. Nah, these functions, yeah, needs high degree of hardness and also force, yeah, also force. Why? Because when it has to protect soft and important internal organs, yeah, so it has to be ready to receive, yeah, any pressure or any force from outside, yeah. So other than it has to be hard, yeah, it also has to be strong, yeah, with certain strengthness, yeah. Now, calcium phosphate, as we see in the molecular formula, yeah, with its three cations, yeah, calcium, and two anions, yeah, phosphate. So it has a high degree of strength, yeah. So we can compare it with another calcium salt, such as calcium carbonate. You know, calcium carbonate, yeah, is the type of calcium salt that exists in exoskeleton, yeah. Exoskeleton, for example, in mollusca, yeah, in the crabs, yeah, or in the insecta, yeah, serangga, yeah. So when you compare between the hardness of those structure with the hardness of the bone, it's different, yeah. The bone, yeah, it's harder, yeah, compared to those structure, yeah, because it has they have different type of calcium salts, yeah. Bone in human has the calcium phosphate, yeah, in the hydroxyapatite form, yeah, whereas the exoskeleton and shell, they have the calcium carbonate, yeah. Why it's different? Yeah, based on the chemical formula. You see there that the calcium in the hydroxyapatite or in the calcium phosphate, it has 3 calcium, yeah, whereas in the calcium carbonate, it only has 1 calcium, yeah. And don't forget that total of the cations and anions also different, yeah. The higher amount of the interaction between negative and positive ion, so the higher the strength, yeah. Okay, so it's responsible for the hardness. It's logical for the hardness that that belongs to the calcium phosphate, yeah. On the other side, yeah, the function as a protective and locomotion of the bone, yeah, needs another characteristic, yeah, other than hardness, yeah, which is flexibility. Nah, this flexibility is made, yeah, by another components, which is organic components, yeah. In the bone, we have collagen, yeah, protein components, and also polysaccharide components is glycosaminoglycan or GAG. Okay. So this is collagen, yeah. Collagen is the protein, yeah. It's the most important protein in bone. This collagen is secreted by fibroblasts, yeah, in the bone tissue. The characteristic of the collagen, yeah, it has triple helix, yeah, means that it consists of 3 polypeptide, yeah, 3 polypeptide, 1, 2, and 3, nih ya, yang green, orange, and blue, yeah. So the polypeptide, yeah, another name is fibril, yeah, fibril, because the shape, yeah. This polypeptide arrange each other and form half-staggered alignment. Yeah, this is half-staggered alignment. This half-staggered alignment, yeah, is formed by hydroxyproline. Yeah, hydroxyproline is the amino acid that is specific for collagen. Yeah, hydroxyproline is the amino acid that is specific for collagen. It also has proline amino acid. Yeah. Nah, hydroxyproline, formation of the hydroxyproline from proline, so the precursor of hydroxyproline is proline, yeah. So hydroxyproline is formed from proline, yeah, and it's synthesized, yeah, needs, yeah, absolutely needs vitamin C, yeah. So from here we know that in forming, yeah, in synthesizing the collagen, we strictly need vitamin C. Yeah, and usually it comes from food, yeah, since vitamin C cannot be synthesized, yeah, in our body. Okay, so that's why in the skincare, yeah, in the skincare, or to get the good and healthy skin, yeah, we need vitamin C, yeah. Okay, so this collagen contributes to the bone resistance against torsion and compression. So mean that, yeah, the collagen is responsible for flexibility of the bone. Yeah, the flexibility of the bone. And in a certain area, depends on the shape of the bone, yeah, collagen is responsible for resistance against compression. Yeah. Okay. Next is glycosaminoglycan. Yeah, glycosaminoglycan is a polysaccharide, yeah, carbohydrates. Yeah, so this is the most important polysaccharide in the bone, and it is produced by another type of the cells, yeah, which are chondrocytes. Yeah, this glycosaminoglycan or GAG, yeah, it is composed, yeah, from disaccharides. Ya, ini kan polysaccharide, ya. So the forming unit is disaccharide, ya, AB, ya, because disaccharide is consists from 2 monosaccharides. So A is first monosaccharide, B is second monosaccharide, and it's repeating, yeah, AB, AB, and AB, yeah. Nah, this GAG also very rich in hydroxyl group, yeah, hydroxyl group, yes, similar to the hydroxyapatite, yeah, it has also hydroxyl group. Yeah, this hydroxyl group is responsible for the hygroscopic characteristic of glycosaminoglycan. Yeah. Now, there is a law, yeah, that we there is a law, yeah, Pascal law, that it said that, yeah, the hydroxyl group, yeah, can also absorb the burden. Yeah. So the higher content, yeah, the higher the hydroxyl content, the higher ability to absorb burden, yeah, according to Pascal law. Nah, GAG also contain, yeah, if you see here, yeah, this is the chemical structure of GAG. One of the example of the GAG is hyaluronic acid, yeah. So if you saw here, yeah, this is the A, maybe this is the A, yeah, yang bawah ini, ya. The left one, yeah, the lowest left one is the A monosaccharide. Next to it, B, yeah, and it's repeating, yeah. So it's A again and it's B again, yeah. So if you saw here, yeah, it is very rich with hydroxyl group, so it can absorb the burden, yeah. And it also has the HSO4, yeah. So it's sulfate, yeah, sulfate, and also the acetyl, yeah, the acetyl group. So between sulfate and acetyl group, yeah, this sulfate and acetyl group, those has the negative charge, yeah. Both of the acetyl and sulfate, yeah, have negative charge. So if you still remember, yeah, the law, yeah, of the between the negative and positive charge, yeah, if it's similar charge, then it will have the tolak menolak, ya. So between those negative group, ya, they will have the tolak menolak dalam bahasa Inggris saya lupa, ya. So mereka saling tolak menolak. Nah, this phenomena will cause spring property of the glycosaminoglycan, ya, as mentioned in Coulomb law, ya. So you remember that glycosaminoglycan has the hydroxyl group, so can absorb burden, and it also has the sulfate, yeah, and acetyl groups, so it has the spring property. Okay. Any question? No? Okay. So now we go to the bone remodeling. Yeah. Calcium in the bone actually is dynamic, yeah, because it undergoes, yeah, bone remodeling process throughout life. Yeah. This bone remodeling, yeah, is caused by various factors. Yeah, the first one is growth and development, and also adaptation to the environment, such as the healing and trauma. Yeah. This remodeling are conducted by two types of bone cell. Yeah, the osteoblast that is responsible to deposit calcium and bone matrix, and the osteoclast. Yeah. The osteoclast is a cells that is derived from monocytes, and the responsibility of the osteoclast is doing the calcium resorption. Yeah. So you see here in the healthy young adult, yeah, the bone resorption and bone formation intensity is equal. Yeah. Whereas in the elderly, yeah, the bone resorption, yeah, the osteoclast activity is higher compared to osteoblast activity. So the bone resorption is higher compared to bone formation. So the result, yeah, is osteoporotic, yeah, osteoporotic bone. So this is calcium in tooth, yeah. So calcium in tooth is also in the same form with calcium in bone, yeah, which is hydroxyapatite. Yeah. However, different to calcium in bone, which undergoes bone remodeling throughout life. Yeah, so it can decrease or increase. Yeah, calcium in tooth, yeah, is relatively stable. Yeah, so once it is formed, it cannot increase and it cannot decrease. Yeah, so this tooth usually cannot become more complex. Yeah, in older person. Yeah. Now, this tooth stability make it being used for forensic investigation because it is not changed. Yeah, so we can use it as the basis for identification. Yeah. Now, tooth calcium are mostly deposited in enamel, yeah, specialized epithelial cells with ability of handling large amount of calcium. So this is calcium in tooth. We will not talk about that specifically. Yeah, it's just the overview. Yeah, for the calcium in tooth. So, any question about the calcium in bone?
Excuse me, though.
Yes.
I have a question.
Wait. Oh, Chesta. Chesta?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my first question is, that means that calcium is the strongest part of the body then, because it has the highest amount of calcium. Is that correct? The enamel.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Oh, that means the tooth in the calcium, it's the strongest, the highest amount of calcium in the body. Is that correct? In the enamel.
Enamel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question is regarding the pathological condition in the bone. What do you know the factors that pushes the occurrences of acromegaly, hyperparathyroidism, and Paget disease? Is it based on the genetics failure to create those bone cells, those bone tissue cells, or is there any other factors, Doc?
For the acromegaly, I think it's genetic, but you may refer to another lecture. Maybe I will not talk about it because it's not related to hormonal. But for hyperparathyroidism, yes, it's because the some of the diseases that can cause the hyperplasia in the cells that secretes the parathyroid hormone. Yeah.
All right.
So it can be from neoplasia, yeah, primary hyperparathyroidism, or it can be also from the compensation, yeah, from another disease. So we call it as secondary hyperparathyroidism. Yeah, we will talk about that in the last slides. Yeah, for the
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. For the Paget disease, is it also genetics or secondary, though?
For the Paget disease, we will not talk about that also because it's not related to the hormonal regulations. Since this scope of this lecture is mostly about the hormonal regulation, so maybe you can refer to another lecture, yeah, for the Paget.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, welcome. Okay, Ananda.
Yes, Doc. I would like to ask. In Paget disease, there's less compact and weaker and highly avascular. Is it because there's some component that is not available in the bone other than the osteoclast and osteoblast activity, or is it because the structure making it like weaker than other bones?
Based on my understanding, yeah, since the osteoblast activity is higher, not because of the normal activity, but it's because the compensation. So they will work faster only to compensate the osteoclastic activity. So their work will not be perfect. Yeah. So that's why maybe there are some steps that missed by the osteoblast. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. Any other question?